So yes, did you enjoy the part where Amuro and Shah fought in their golden Gundams?
Certainly, that was something. I thought stuff was very weird. Yes. Why did he have to have red hair? I don't understand.
And welcome to That Japanese Thing. My name's Chris. Today with me is Dylan and Yesh. Welcome, guys.
Hey. Hello.
Hey. There's a storm going on, so you'll hear thunder and lightning in the background. Can't do anything about that. Had to record now. So, we're talking about Gundam Hathaway, a movie from 2021 that we only just watched. Despite all of us quite liking Gundam, this is like a main universe kind of
Universal
story.
Century Gundam. Yeah.
Universal Century Gundam, the Amuro Shah, however you want to say his name, timeline. And it actually has characters from that timeline in it, although you wouldn't know it from watching it. That was my feeling initially. I had to look up who these people were. I didn't realize they were actually characters from the original show.
Mm-hmm. Well, Noah, we would know because the captain was such a bright influence from that.
But I mean, they give his name as Hathaway, right? So
well, he was introduced as Noah Hathaway.
Hathaway, I suppose so.
Captain Noah is a phrase I've heard probably 4,000 or 5,000 times at this point.
Although, if like me, you watch the Japanese version, he's always just Captain Bright, right? And
I suppose.
very, very rarely refer to him as Noah. Just strange.
Oh, I thought I watched all of Gundam in Japanese, but I remember him being called Admiral Hoa and Captain Hoa. No.
Probably in the subtitles, that's what they wrote.
Maybe.
It's not what they said. I can guarantee that. But yeah, so he is actually Captain Bright's son, with Mirai as the mother. I thought maybe it was like an affair or something he had, but no.
No, that's his actual love interest.
Yeah,
supposedly.
And we see him briefly in Gundam Zeta. Alright, is that correct?
It wasn't Zeta where he.
He was like
illegally
a 4-year-old,
piloted a
right?
suit.
No.
No. In Zeta he grew up a bit, not enough to do anything. But we had met him before in Zeta, and Zeta. I think.
I think in Zeta, he is in Hong Kong with Mirai during that time where Amuro meets the weird lady on that plane, I guess. And
it's kind of hard to know exactly where UC is at any point in time. Actually, I think.
Yeah. No, and then the family gets kidnapped at some point, right?
I know that during the Cha Rebellion or the Cha something, I forget what it's called exactly.
Yeah, that's later though. Yeah, he's an actual pilot.
He's an actual character. Yeah.
But even then, he's not super recognizable, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Recognizable, no. But remember, so for context, this Hathaway version is set 12 years after Char's counterattack. So
sure.
In UC, we haven't seen our main characters for around 12 years.
I don't know if that is strictly true.
It says it at the beginning of the movie.
Does it say?
Maybe 10 years.
It's 106, right? That's when this takes
I'm not
place.
100%. All I know is what they told me at the beginning of this movie.
Okay.
Century 1 of 50 season, beginning era, etc., etc.
Right. I mean, that could be 12 years, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know for sure, though. It makes sense, though. Everyone is like a proper adult in this, for once. Did you know that the source material is a light novel?
Actually, kind of did. It's got a manga adaptation and a light novel adaptation.
Yeah.
Apparently, the light novel goes quite far. But I only knew it because this is going to sound so silly. Not because of any of the proper main characters, but because of Gigi Andalusia,
Okay.
the goddess of victory.
Yeah.
So in the light novel, she became quite well known, and she's kind of like a Gundam. Okay, so this is a community thing more than a official thing.
Sure.
But in the community, she has become known as the Goddess of Victory, and she's relatively popular. And they were saying if they ever make a mobile game, Gigi would be one of those like SSR type base characters. You know, the characters that live on White Base or like are the reason why the pilots are out there.
I don't think White
Gigi
Base
would be one of those.
Oh, okay, if it was still there, yeah.
Well, yeah, if
Yeah.
it's still, well, there's always a Gundam base. It doesn't have to be.
Well,
White
we
Base,
saw-
but you know the tradition.
I mean, we saw Captain Bright's ship, right, in this movie. We didn't actually
Yes,
see him.
for a
at
moment,
all.
though.
Yeah, just for a moment.
we didn't. They mentioned him like 4 times, but they didn't actually like show him.
They might have showed
Which
him
is
in
kind
like
of
a
funny.
memory flashback or something, but I'm not entirely sure.
I don't remember seeing Bright, but we did see Amuro.
Did we? See, that's the thing I'm trying to bring up, right? Because
Right.
Noah, Hathaway Noah, looks basically like a slightly older, thinner face kind of Amuro.
Amuro.
Right? Yeah.
Kind of Amuro, yeah.
And then Kenneth Slegg,
Kenneth Slegg, yeah.
he looks like Shah, except his hair is darker.
Brown.
Right.
But his apprentice, Aim Lane, is a redhead.
He's a
and
redhead,
has a
yes.
little bit of that,
Yeah.
that fire.
Yeah. They also it's like a weird combination of things. We'll go into that maybe a little bit later with like characters look
So
like other characters.
let me just explain
But
where Amuro appeared.
Kenneth's original character design from the manga looked basically exactly like Shah. He had, you know, the blonde hair. and
Yes, he
everything.
had the hair.
Yeah.
He had the hair.
So I think that's what they're
haven't-
going for here.
but just as a note, I have not read the manga or the light novel. I've
Me
only
neither.
listened to Gundam fanatics talk about the light novel and the manga, which is why I know more about Gigi than I know about the main characters.
Gigi.
Sorry, Chris, I did want to
Yeah, go
say,
ahead, yeah.
so you asked me where Amuro appeared. In the moment where where Hathaway was freaking out as he was about to begin piloting, a flashback of Amuro appeared in his head and said, "The Grim Reaper doesn't appear when you expect him to," which awoken his ability to pilot the Gundam.
Was that the vision of the lake in space?
No. The vision of the lake was Quest,
Okay.
his ex-love interest that died.
Who's the lady from the original Gundam that was like the love triangle?
Yeah, that's Quest.
Was that Quest?
That's Quest, yeah.
Who died
So
at the
Hathaway-
end of the first series?
So Hathaway fell in love with Quest, but Quest never felt anything for him in particular.
I mean, that can't.
He fell in love
that
with
can't
both
be,
Char and
no,
Amuro.
that can't be possible, right? No. Quest
Why?
was not a bright. So that was like before he was born, right? Like, that can't be possible.
No, she served with him, and she was involved with Amuro. And look, timelines are a bit of a thing.
No, but not possible. Bright hadn't had him. It's not possible. She died before that.
You might be talking about a different person.
Like the Indian girl.
No, certainly not Quest. That's not Quest. Sorry,
No, okay.
Quest
Just
was the
remember, folks.
half-awakened new type.
Just remember, we're not talking about Gundam, and there's
That was
like
that
2 minutes
that was
in,
that was
and there's
Zeta.
already an
That was Zeta,
argument.
wasn't it? That was Zeta.
Yes,
yeah.
she was certainly later, but she fell in love with both Amuro and
Yes,
Char.
yeah, no.
And then-
That's a different character entirely. But she's the one that looks more like Gigi, I think.
Yes,
They were
Quest,
going very
yeah.
much for that. But the original new type, I think, is the one that fits more like character-wise in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Although, like, Gigi's personality is like borderline, like weirdly sociopathic throughout this movie.
So I think she is supposed to be suggested to be part new type, not like a proper awakened new type, not a trained new type.
Yeah,
But like the fact that he hears voices when he looks at her, and she can sort of partially
He-
see the future and into people's souls and stuff. Is
yeah.
very new type.
Hathaway Noah hears her voice a few seconds before she actually speaks.
Says the thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's because I'm very confused about this because nothing's really explained. That's very Gundam.
So
right?
I did want to talk about that. While we're talking about this movie, I do want to specify that this movie definitely is part of a trilogy. It's not a standalone movie, and its storyline does not stand up on its own.
No.
It very much relies on
Yeah.
previous content and future content.
Well, that,
Um,
yeah, I mean, that, yeah,
Yeah.
it's very confusing. You can watch it if you haven't watched some of the other stuff, I would say.
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
possible.
There's a very great deal of Gundam foo involved, where if you are not familiar with some things, some of what's happening on the screen is just gonna fly right over your head. But I'm fine with that. It says Gundam on the front. You should be familiar with what you're going to get into before you get into it.
Well, like, so I agree that you won't catch like a lot of the references within that universe. You're not gonna, if you don't watch that, then you're not gonna catch it. You can, especially if you are paying close attention throughout and sifting through the confusing sort of bits, kind of get what the plot of this specific movie is fairly easily. We managed to do so, but it is confusing, and I think that's a fair criticism of the movie itself.
Dylan was advocating for the next time we do something like this. Yes, we need a Gundam bingo card to watch the movie.
Love
Fully
interest
agree with that.
dies has to be in the middle. It's the free spot.
Yeah.
Gundam lightsaber
So,
fight
fridging-
in park.
Gundam lightsaber. I mean, like, what was the line? The line I used was right in the beginning with the shuttle. I was like, "Those are terrorists, aren't they?" And then they became terrorists, and I was like, "Gundam bingo should be, I think." And then, as Chris says, like, we were watching like
It's not
these
a real
mobile
fight
suits.
until they take out a lightsaber.
That's it. And as he says that, boom, there's the lightsaber, right? So yeah, I do think we should start watching Gundam movies with Gundam bingo.
I really liked the way this looked.
Yeah.
In terms of how everything like moved
I
together.
did want to bring that up. There was 2D mixing with 3D, or hand-drawn animation mixing with computer animation, and it didn't feel out of place and it didn't look weird.
Yeah, there were
I
only
was highly
there were
impressed.
only like 2 or 3 scenes where I actually noticed it was like a 3D model, and they'd always like it was always in the background, and they'd always like put it in shadow or something like that. So it wasn't so obvious.
There's at least one scene where I did say that the CGI was horrific, which is weirdly not when any of the fighting or anything is happening. It's when Hathaway was going on a stroll by himself. He was
Right.
going to a market, like a market stall, and they reused the animation of him walking towards the screen
Yes.
in 3 different
Yeah,
scenes,
no, I noticed
and
that.
it wasn't the direction he was traveling in. So there was this weird thing where it looked like he was like sideswipe dancing across
Oh,
the
the-
screen twice.
Did they break the 180 rule?
They broke the 180 rule, correct. But also they
I
used
didn't know- I
the
didn't pick
animation
that up.
for the same facing for Noah when the scene changed facing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like he was walking towards the camera when the street was going right to left camera. if
It
that makes
was
sense.
so there were like 3 places where it was particularly noticeable, and mostly they weren't with the characters, which is why I think this is done pretty well. That was when they flew over that island, because obviously there was a 3D model they had rendered.
Oh
so
right,
they
of
could
the
do
island.
that.
Yes, yeah.
Then the
I was willing
boat,
to ignore that
the
'cause
boat
it's
that
such a
was
big
around
thing.
that island, and then the terrorist base.
Terrorist
The
base,
ships
yeah.
flying in and out of that were obviously just super CG, but never in the foreground. And it,
In the
it looked,
foreground,
it looked
yeah.
fine. Oddly enough, like finding screenshots for this was quite difficult because as good as it looks, and it looks really good most of the time, when you pause it, something's not quite right. It's like
Yeah, I think if you examine any scene too much, it starts to pop out a little bit at you, because you can see like there's a difference in rendering. But in motion, everything looked good in my opinion.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
highly impressed. Sunrise
it is,
definitely
yeah.
knows what they're doing.
I do wonder if what they did. I was saying this to Chris because trying to find a still frame that wasn't blurred. I wonder if what they did was smooth, like apply a smoothing filter over everything right at the end, just to transition so that the movement, like CG suffers from this thing where like movement looks like you've got a low frame rate, right? You're like just kind of skipping, hopping across the screen. And I wonder if they didn't get around that by kind of like doing a motion filter where any still is a little blurry, and so it actually looks in
interpolation.
motion. Yeah.
so
it actually
it's
looks
it's
like
actually the opposite problem, which is why I don't think that's necessarily what they did. It's stills are jagged. The sharpness is too high. So
I found everything was always sort of blurry.
in motion, right? in motion.
in motion.
I think it's a trick of the eye, but when you pause it, it's a bit jagged for whatever reason. Mostly just the character models and not the backgrounds, because the backgrounds are CGI.
Okay. All right.
I don't know why that is. It looks fine when you're watching it. So
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
maybe
It does
someone
look
more
fine when you're
technical
watching.
can explain that.
I mean, the reason why I chose the film in the first place was because I wanted a benchmark. Because we talk about CG and 3D animation a lot, right?
That's true.
our,
yeah. It
in our
gets brought
anime
up when
discussions.
when
And-
it's bad, yeah.
Something I've noticed is that very often a studio will choose a specific thing to do well in their CG. Okay, and of course they choose nothing to do well, but they choose a specific thing. Right? Like we had this conversation about My Demon, where the people don't look right in terms of 3D animation, but they
Stick out to the wall.
But for me, they get the demons super, super good, and I think they really chose to do that. Now, Netflix is bringing out more Gundam, and I thought it was a good time that we actually choose a 3D
this
movie
is
that's
also
pretty
a
good.
Netflix one, right?
Yeah, a pretty good benchmark for mecha-centric 3D CG style stuff, right?
I mean, I feel like we
So
have
we
that.
can actually
though.
look at
Go on.
What? Well, in the movies that we've watched for this podcast.
No, yeah. But
Okay. Well then we can watch whatever you're thinking about. And chat
I mean,
about that
Gundam
as
Double
well.
Zero is the 3D
Yeah.
benchmark for mecha stuff, right?
Okay.
Uh,
Well, let's watch
absolutely.
that. Let's watch that next, and then we can compare the two.
I would love to watch Double Zero as a side note. There's
Cool.
2 seasons of it, none of it is bad.
Oh God.
Sorry,
Alright.
Dylan. I should have said nothing.
Yeah.
A shorter option, which is done by the same studio and is also mecha, is Formidable Panic. Invisible
You don't need shorter
something?
if you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
Invisible Victory,
But
I guess that's what it's called.
But I do think it would be good to have something to reference back to as we watch content that comes out that is 3D and mecha.
So, Yesh,
Um,
did you obviously watch this in Japanese, right?
yes.
Did you ever
Absolutely.
at any point were you ever curious to just change it to English and just let the
No.
Australian accent flow through you?
Netflix of USA sadly didn't offer me Japanese as a streaming choice.
Really? That's strange.
Yeah. So I listened to it in English for about 15 minutes. I will say I don't experience Gundam in English very happily.
No,
I
it's
was
just wrong.
privileged. I was privileged in never having to listen to it in English.
So yeah, I will admit, by the way, I'm completely biased towards Gundam stuff. When I initially saw the okay, this is super nitpicky, but when I initially saw the seat backs in the luxury seating in the plane at the beginning,
Yeah, that's literally the image behind your head right now. God.
yeah, that was one of those scenes where I felt like the CG was going to piss me off in the future, where
Yeah.
I felt the CG in motion was going to look like people didn't belong with it. But that's not the quality of the CG in the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
But
no,
yes,
it's,
hearing them in English and seeing that set me on a like real negative bent for a moment. And then I found a Japanese language option. And then I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed everything else pretty okay.
I kind of thought for a moment that the quality of the animation was gonna just be around Gigi because they really liked animating her.
So 3 different scenes. Her hair was like
Yeah,
fully
no,
alive. Her hands were weirdly overly animated.
someone didn't sleep for a month doing that hair.
Yeah, just the one hand scene where she was flipping a pen around her hand while complaining. I'm just imagining how long that must have taken. Because I counted the seconds, it was 6 seconds. But the animation was easily above 60
Yes,
frames
yeah.
per second. So
And-
some poor bastard drew like 400 frames just for her hands to
And
move.
not
like
just her hands, not just the hair, the clothing, everything. She's always like in a windy place. It's
that. Yeah,
kind of
that's
was
also true.
quite
When she
spectacular,
turns
really.
around to show off her outfits and
Yeah.
stuff. But that's because literally, and maybe that's not because, but rather, I will say that their efforts are in the correct area because the fandom has a definite definite focus on Gigi.
Yeah.
It's not sexual as well. It's that she is a brat, and they somehow her being a brat, but that brings victory, is very appealing, and I don't entirely
Gotta say,
understand that.
don't understand her mood swings. it's a. I'm
her
sure there
brattiness-
must be something more to her character that hasn't been revealed yet.
Well, I think they're trying to suggest that she is a part new type. Kind of like how Noah has new type energy, but he's not a new type.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably a little bit new typey, but
He has to be in some way, and especially since he can communicate with Char and Amuro,
yes,
or at least he's been shown to communicate with
yeah,
them,
exactly.
effectively through the Force, if you want to be.
And
technical
he
about
has
it.
like precognition, right? So it's definitely
Yeah,
something there.
dodging lasers. That's why Lane was so confused that he could dodge the lasers.
Exactly. And even
but
just,
yeah,
when he was doing hand-to-hand combat in the beginning, that's not normal human ability, what he was doing there.
Absolutely. Which does set us off that Kenneth, that's why later on when Kenneth is like, that physicality, I should have known. It kind of feels like, okay, that makes sense. It's not just, we need him to know that this guy's that guy.
Did you love how Kenneth just rode in on a horse at some point?
I actually love Kenneth, I must say. I thought I was going to hate the guy because he's obviously the rival, but he keeps winking at Noah and being like super friendly.
Yeah.
And like even when they're competing over the girl, he's like, best of luck to you, I'm also in this race. It's so fun seeing them being cool to each other.
I don't. It's weird because there's a lot of likable characters in this. Obviously, Gigi. I think Kenneth's quite likable from a certain kind of like douchebag kind of perspective. He's quite likable.
Gorman, some random pilot, and I know that.
Oh
he's a
yeah,
kid, but
he's
Gorman.
Way of the House
He's super
Husband
cool.
guy. Amazing. Love the voice acting.
They did a fantastic world of filling this. They did a fantastic job of filling this world with characters that feel worn in and used well.
Yes.
Even the people who were kind of like throwaway backgrounds for the story at this time, the people in the rebel base,
Yes.
they all had fixed characters that I became kind of familiar with before. It took 30 or 40 seconds for me to know the characters of everyone.
Yeah, there was like, oh yeah, that's the guy from the Zeta Zeta, who's the thug. I got it. That's that girl. I got it. Okay, I know who all these people are now. We can move on to the fight
Exactly.
scenes.
And they just like skated over that without being like too crazy, but at the same time letting me know these people are still here and they're still doing their thing.
That being said,
Super cool.
There were only 2 fight scenes in this.
So
Very
this
true.
is definitely a setup for a trilogy type of movie. Although I will say I'm going to be a little bit complaining for a little bit.
Sure.
I think they made Noah act in a completely not human way many times. Maybe not human, but like he's
monstrous.
respected as
Yeah.
he's a respected leader of this organization, and they're willing to sacrifice people and and mobile suits for him, like excessive resources. But the way he acts is kind of dumb, and at the same time, like we're supposed to be understanding what he wants to do, and he's previously been this person that's been on the same team as we have been a part of, and now he's like, all humans must leave, and I'm willing to commit mass murder and like casual death for it.
I mean, I also just don't. I haven't watched Char's Rebellion in a while. Maybe I've missed something. What made him this way? Let's go back and just watch that, I guess.
So the reasoning he's giving is that the planet is still dying no matter what actions anyone wants to take, and pure corruption is the reason. So right at the very, very beginning of this movie, Gigi is talking to Kenneth, and she's like discussing the politics of these terrorists. And Kenneth says that he thinks that the way that they're doing it is wrong, because you have to grease the gears to make things work. And he's pretty much spelling out that there's no way that they're going to save the planet without like corruption being used to corrupt the corrupt,
Right,
kind
yeah.
of thing. Like it's such a network of crap that we can't even fix basic problems, kind of thing. So Noah also later on in the movie says, as long as there's exceptions, there's going to be corruption. As long as there's corruption, we're never going to do anything. So there can't be exceptions. It has to be an absolute. And becoming a complete Sith like that obviously leads to him screaming absolute power at people.
Exactly.
But he, like, you can sort of see where he's coming from, kind of. It feels like a sudden heel turn, but He is right in a way that, like, if as long as exceptions are allowed, there's always going to be fuck ups and like just people being unwilling to leave and like twisting the system to gain unnecessary advantage. So he's got an absolutist standpoint that's kind of hard to argue against because it's been 12 years since they agreed to try and fix the planet, and they have not. But then we also get this pure ground level view of a taxi driver that says, wow, that man must have too much time on his hand to think about 20 years or 100 years in the future. I'm just trying to get through to tomorrow. And it really brings us down to the fact that he's killing innocent people when he's doing all of this. But then we're
he's
also
very
shown,
much the bad guy. I
Well,
mean, when you
hold
think
on
about
on
it,
that.
right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
He is the bad guy. He's committing terrorist actions. He's killing people. That's true. But when Gorman was doing the raid and trying to like kill those diplomats,
Yeah.
he put himself. It's classic Gundam. He put himself in a position where if the Imperial forces wanted to shoot him, they'd have to shoot the city, and they do. And he started to freak out, going, "Are you guys crazy? Why are you shooting?
Not
It's your
Imperial
city behind
forces,
me."
eh? That was Earth forces doing that.
It's Earth forces.
Yeah.
Sorry, you have to understand. We're not talking Gundam, right?
It felt.
The bad guys,
but you're right.
They
It felt
pilot
like
one-eyed
it
mechs
was.
and
It felt like they
Well-
were Imperial, didn't it?
Imperial. Look at Kenneth's uniform. Have you looked at what Kenneth's uniform is?
I know. I mean, obviously,
Black with a red collar, sir.
black with a red collar. It does sort of emulate the style of like Bright's uniform when you look at the whole thing. But certainly the collar and everything comes off more Imperial.
The color is super Char, super Empire. But you're right. It is this local forces. It is Earth forces. But he places himself such that they can't shoot him without being willing to destroy the city. And they go wild on destroying the city. They cause a lot of destruction. Which makes me wonder how much of this he's a terrorist and like... well, okay, definitely he's a terrorist.
Yes.
But how much of this, like, he's killing civilians is actually he is killing civilians?
And
It-
just one thing I only realized at the end of it is there's this sort of running around scene where they're trying not to be squashed by the Gundams that are having the fight in the park, right?
Mhm.
And you kind of think, oh, he's trying to lead her to safety, lead Gigi to safety.
Well,
he
he's
was
also
was
looking to
initially
follow
trying to
his
ditch her,
people.
right? But then he kind of felt bad
Yeah.
about it. But you realize, no, he's just trying not to blow his cover. That's the entire reason he like, you know, took her with them. And the reason he didn't just leave her was so that she didn't just tell Kenneth that he was
that he's the thing, yeah.
right. No other reason. No like sentimentality. No trying to save lives or anything. He was also willing to
No, well,
completely sacrifice
it-
his subordinate not to be compromised.
He was willing to sacrifice his subordinate, which I am so confused about. But I do think that there's a pretty strong suggestion that while he's trying to put a strong outside, he has strong feelings for Gigi. Because when he first gets into the cockpit himself, he has to be like, I don't care about Gigi. This is about me. I don't care about Gigi. Which is not something you say if you're not thinking about it and like struggling to fight that off, right?
Sure.
So the movie does try to sell us on that he is into her as well as she was into him.
But you know what, Yash?
Kind of.
Amuro's malevolent gaze has seen this man, so he doesn't have long to live. So it's not a problem that will be
It's
with
not
us
going
for
to
a
stick
long
around
time.
for a long time. No. Although, to be fair, he is a Noah. The Noah has been through both Char and him, slapped both of them firmly, and
Right.
lived.
I think I do know how this ends.
I predict a bright future for this young man.
No, I sadly I don't think so. I think I think Captain Bright's going to be sad. That's
Yes.
the outcome.
Well,
yeah.
that's kind of the joke I was making. His father is Captain Bright. I predict
I
his
see.
father's going to rock up and imprison him.
I think worse. I think he's a terrorist, right? And
They won't kill Hathaway.
Didn't
He's
they
the namesake
issue-
of the trilogy.
didn't they issue a kill on sight to him?
They have issued a kill on sight, but when has that ever stopped Amuro?
I don't know about
won't
Amuro.
They won't kill this
but-
named character. He's going to be too useful in their upcoming gotcha mobile game.
Sure, yeah, that's true. Yeah, where you can pilot your various mechs from all the franchises. I don't know if they bring back Shaw, that would be. I think maybe I agree with you.
I definitely feel like a Char reference is coming for us in the next one.
Yeah,
Because this was a lot of Amuro.
and
Or Amuro vibes, at least.
yeah. Well, I mean, they might just because this is a sort of it is the main line, but it's also
Yes, it is.
it's also semi like not canon, as far as I understand. So they might not want to muddy the water.
No, it's listed as a UC.
I understand that, but just according to what I read, like the novel and the manga were considered like kind of almost
Side.
fanfic, right?
They're
Like an-
side canon.
Yeah, alternative. canon, yeah.
That's why the novel, I haven't read the novel at all. It's not considered prime canon, it's considered side canon.
Yeah.
So side canon is usually reserved for some details may leak into the main universe, but some details may change in the
Yeah, yeah.
so it's hard to tell what exactly is happening. But this movie is listed as UC, so this movie is listed as fully canon currently, unless something changes.
No. Well, I hope it doesn't. I hope we actually get more because it's been
It's been
delayed a
while,
few
hey?
times.
Since Unicorn, we haven't had a proper UC movie.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, in 2021, people were complaining about like asking when the next one was going to come through. I mean, this was released 2021.
Mm-hmm.
That we've heard nothing.
There's no
about it
announcement
since, I don't think.
for 2. Yeah.
And it's interesting
But-
that they've actually released like 3 series in the space between this movie and its
Between
sequel.
them. And The Witch from Mercury was fantastically done.
Amazing.
I actually think that's one of the best Gundam I've watched in the last decade.
They may
So-
have just dumped all the resources they were using
Into
for the
Witch,
movie
yeah.
into Witch, yeah.
Because also remember, I know this is going to sound so sad, but you can sell the Witch models. There's several pretty girls.
I
and
almost
there's several
bought,
nice
well,
Gundams.
I actually I almost bought the Gundam model the other day.
Yeah. Which is also a girl. Let's not ignore that.
Oh, that's true.
Witch from Mercury. I think they have changed their focus. I think UC is on the other side of the coin. I must say this. I prefer the approach Sunrise takes, where if they introduce something that's part of the main universe, you must know that it's gone through the continuity Bible. It's gone through several layers of people trying to protect their IP, and then you get the movie. So
Yeah.
everything fits together well, and every character relates well.
I was kind of just thinking it's like the opposite approach to like Games Workshop takes, where everything is canon but also it's not.
Everything is propaganda canon. It
Yeah.
could be altered, it could be modified, it could
Whereas
be
this,
revised, but it
there's
exists
a
in the
lot of
universe.
different universes, so a lot of different stories can be told, but everything is canon and kind of
But-
like thought through at least.
They've managed to keep this universe interesting, fun, and understandable for more than 20 years, and Marvel couldn't keep its universe interesting for 10. So
I mean, you're fundamentally true, right there. I mean, it's not like that, but they haven't made a lot of content for the universe since like the 90s, right?
there's been releases. I think Unicorn and a couple of others have inched into canon, but
Yeah.
you're right. Their release rate is really low. But on the other side of the coin, what they release, I know I enjoy. So I don't know. I understand that their release rate is very slow, and living through this is kind of frustrating. But I want to keep my passion for this. You know, I
Sure.
want to feel like when they release a Gundam, I should be excited.
Yeah, and I want to be excited as well.
So I feel bad that they've released so little content. But on the other side, if they release too much content, I would no longer be interested as well. You suffer burnout eventually.
I do wonder if they're the part of the reason they haven't released the second movie is because it's a Netflix contract, and it was in theaters in Japan, during like the height of the pandemic, so maybe that's also why I didn't do well.
Oh, maybe its performance was bad.
Yeah.
I actually don't know about its performance. I'll be honest. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, it's hard to look up because you can see like a Japanese like figure for income for the movie theaters, but Netflix doesn't release their data, so we actually have no idea what it could be.
Somewhat totally off topic, but also on topic. They are re-releasing Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, the movies, in theaters here next year.
I'm
going to go watch that. I am going to go watch that.
Well, the two movies that they made to summarize the series is what they're re-releasing in like 8K or something, I think.
So
Watching Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann in a theater? Come on, I have to do that.
It might almost be worth like a plane ticket. I don't know.
It's a lifetime thing, honestly.
Yeah,
But I don't know. This thing, I am not sure how it did in theaters, so I can't be certain. We may have just watched the beginning of a trilogy that never exists.
yeah, it could be. It would be sad.
But
It would
I
be
was
sad,
actually
be
a little
sad.
bit invested. So, if it goes away, on the other side of the coin, to be a complete otaku for a moment,
Sure.
this movie really kicked me out in the beginning. You've heard me complain about the beginning because I watched it in English already.
Yes.
But there was a scene that really bugged me, and it's such a small detail. I know it's pointless, but I wanted to complain about it. In the beginning of the movie, they were showing us how totally like zero G the inside of the compartment was,
yeah.
or like very low gravity. We had several people struggling to stay in the seats. We had hair flying all over. There was some very beautiful animation going on where they were showing off how smooth the motion could be. And then they get poured champagne in a glass, and they lift the glasses up and lower it and like drink. And I was like, you have open water in a cabin with low grav or zero grav.
It's one of the things
that
they
is the dumbest
do,
thing I've ever seen.
but they do that
Yeah.
in what's that show? The sort of Expanse. They do that as well. There, it drives me crazy.
But hold on, I'm not finished yet. And I was like, maybe they're just treating liquids as a simple thing that they're pretending doesn't exist kind of thing. But then
Yeah.
Hathaway goes to the bathroom, and the thing that they used to wash their hands in is a zero-G tap.
Yeah.
And that really irritated me. And I don't know, I can't explain why such a small thing.
My like geeky headcanon was that they were descending into the atmosphere while they were doing the service. So gravity was slowly returning. That is how I rationalized it.
Maybe.
So
I'll accept that.
I mean, you'll notice that when the terrorists started attacking and everything, then gravity was sort of reset to normal Earth
Gravity
standards.
was returning because we were
Yeah.
going into the atmosphere, yeah.
So maybe that's maybe
I
it's
did
not as
enjoy
dumb
that
as it seems.
They used the entry interference to make it so that nobody could see the thing attaching to the top. And then they used the shuttle's heat shield to protect them from the heat as well. Super well done. I really appreciate it.
Is Yuji just like a little bit insane? Do you think she must have some sort of like? She kept talking about like a baron or something throughout the story.
The reason why she was on that hyper high class thing without having any political position herself
Yeah.
is because she is the lover of a baron. And he organized an apartment for her in Hong Kong and a
Yes.
trip down to Earth. But her position in the story initially is that she is the lover of this 80-year-old man.
Right. Who we're going to learn is just actually secretly Shah, right? That's the person who's arranging
Baron
this.
Woodworth or some crap. Woodenbound. His name is like Woodenbound or something.
Yeah.
If he happens to be related to Shah in some way, I'm going to be laughing my ass off, honestly. But I kind of expect the Baron thing to just vanish. Because the end of her story in this is that she's going to go say goodbye to the Baron as a politeness. And then she's going to go come and live with...
Well, no, she said...
Brave.
I don't know. She didn't exactly say that, did
Kinda.
she? She said she'd be
She
there
kind
for
of-
3
she
days
said that-
or something.
Yeah. She said that she had to go see him because he paid for her trip down. And then Kenneth said, regardless of you going there, come back to me and stay in the cabin as our goddess of victory, Cersei.
Yeah, he did keep saying that. Goddess of Luck, actually.
It's
Goddess of Luck.
Goddess of Luck. I think it's supposed to be victory, but maybe they translate.
No,
I don't know,
in
whatever.
Japanese it's
Regardless.
definitely Goddess of Luck.
Luck. Okay.
Yeah.
But I do know that. Sorry, brain. She goes to Cersei Squad and acts as their Goddess of Victory in the light novel.
Yeah.
And
She-
also, it was super progressive for anime that maybe she wouldn't be a virgin anymore, and he still would accept her. In the West, that's not such a significant thing, but trust me, in Japan, that whole story is like incredibly progressive.
Okay. She also has half princess hair. Do you know what that means?
Yes, she does.
Right.
Oh dear.
So
But also,
yeah.
she has childhood friend hair on the top.
Yeah,
So
it's
she's
not perfect.
she's got
yeah.
like 2 separate death flags, you know?
I know, yeah. And then she's got the weird split personality, and she's got the red eye thing going on.
So I think that's supposed to be her foresight. I think that's telling us that she is new type. Like fully new type, maybe.
I wonder if it's possible that like she's secretly Shah's daughter. That would be the
Shaw
lovely trilogy.
around every corner and in every closet.
So online, right?
You might
There's
say that.
a model you can buy of her that transforms into Shah. You replace the face and the uniform and whatever.
I mean, you just put the helmet on her and she already looks.
Yeah, she's
She
90%
already
there.
has his nose and face shape.
Basically.
Isn't it? So-
I would just put a uniform on her and there we go. Shah was just cross-dressing the whole time.
But there was some pretty strong superpositioning of her and Quest. At least twice they put when she was walking away that Quest. We heard Quest's voice in Noah's in Hathaway's head, and then the second time we had a full-on vision of Quest walking away from him when she chose to go out with Kenneth.
Yeah. And as we've established, like you can exist without a body in this universe if you're a strong new type.
New type.
So
And she was fucking around with Amuro and Char. So Quest has a possibility of being a spirit following Hathaway. God, I feel bad for Hathaway.
I don't like him. I think he deserves whatever is coming his way, to be perfectly frank about it.
I genuinely
There
feel
are no
like
heroes in this.
there's no absolute heroes, but I do think that they are placing him as our Amuro replacement.
You know, exactly. I mean, he even looks like
They're
Amuro, right?
positioning him. Yeah, and also the whole he wasn't supposed to be a pilot, but then he was a pilot, and now he's in a position.
He stole
where
a Gundam,
people are following him.
so on and so forth. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Aim Lane and Kenneth have that whole sort of semi-nobility soldier of absolute honor.
He
whole thing going
has a young, like Wendy kind of vibe about him. From
Don't put the man in his grave already, man.
sorry, like what's it, Legend of the Galactic Heroes or something?
Oh, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, Wendy. Okay.
Yeah.
I can sort of see that. Yeah. God, Legend of the
Not
Galactic
quite
Heroes
like
is
noble,
great.
but like military dude, very competent at his
Absolutely.
job. That sort of
Well,
thing.
I mean, he is presented as noble-like because he's also put on that high-class plane and presented as like
rides
to be
a
a noble,
horse
but just barely.
onto the field. Yeah, he's
he's totally there. He's got the moves.
I mean, he even had like a crop like that. He was like flexing. Dylan pointed out a few times during the like scenes when he got angry. But yeah, like I don't know. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it was like a complete well put together, self-contained, very good story by itself. Very much must have been part of a trilogy kind of story because it doesn't have doesn't have an
as a
ending at
standalone.
all.
It's pretty much disappointing because the development in the story is minimal, and then the ending is not satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, it's at least very pretty to watch, right? You don't have to watch everything for storyline. Although storyline always helps so much for me.
The Gundam
I will be
fight-
disappointed if it is, but it ends up being an isolated film.
Oh, we've barely spoken about the Gundams actually, right? I thought the first Gundam fight, which wasn't really Gundams.
Well, it was
Well,
Penelope
one Gundam
versus Zaku.
No, it wasn't a
This
Penelope.
is-
It was just a normal, like
Was
Mark
it
II,
not
right?
No, no.
Penelope? It was the Penelope.
It was the
actually.
Penelope.
Yeah.
Aim
Lane-
Lane was in the
That's
Penelope.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
then
why the Zaku
it
had
was
such a
against
hard time.
Gorman. Despite Gorman's extreme
So
experience,
I
he
thought
still
the
lost.
Penelope only showed up towards the end of that fight. I thought the main fight was between just normal mobile
So
suits.
Yeah, it could've
technically,
been, yeah.
while they were in the air, it was just mecha versus mecha stuff, random stuff. But
Yeah.
Random
Penelope
robot suits.
the Penelope shot one of his engines down.
Yes.
And then on the ground, he fought two normal
yeah.
mecha,
Yeah.
and then the Penelope came in and lightsabered him.
Through the chest. Yeah. No, but yeah, that's not super important. I thought that fight was like really spectacular, actually, happening.
It was so well animated and very kinetic.
I'm not entirely sure which city
Yeah.
it was. Somewhere in Australia, right?
Yeah, and I feel like the choice to do their fights at night, and they did both of them in sort of with the nighttime sky.
Yeah.
Was
Looks-
very. It was very well done.
And it
Because
probably
then they
hides
could
a
really
lot of
make the
stuff.
lighting, use the lighting to their advantage for all of the sort of energy weapons and the kinetic effects and the molten slag off of.
Oh, when
Yeah,
the laser hit into
everything.
an armor and like sparks came off and melted through those
Yes.
things.
Oh no, that was
So good.
spectacular. Yeah.
And it also really highlighted, like Chris said this like as we watch here, it's perfect. It was just the horror of what a Gundam would actually be in real life.
I
If
think
you were anywhere near these things, like
I said, like,
going head to head.
it'd be like seeing a space marine. First, you'd be like in awe, and then like you're dead because something worse than the space marine's coming around the corner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was horrifying watching them trying to run away and just being unable to get out of the combat zone.
And just beautifully lit. It was so gorgeous.
And then
And then
the second fight, right? I think that was a lot worse in most ways.
Well, the
Yeah,
problem with the
so
second fight is power friendship kind of happened in it, which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah.
But just talking about the way it looked, I think the ground battle it felt more like Gundam mobile suits, humanoid shaped things. But then when we got to,
Oh, I suppose because
I
Noah's
think it was
suit
a-
is a little bit dragon shaped.
I think he had like
Well-
a Delta or a Zeta model. I can't remember exactly which one it
And
was.
the Penelope kind of looks like a starfish, right?
Yes, yeah, and it's like like a transforming Gundam kind of thing. It felt a bit off. I know Gundams, have transformed in the past and
Different
they-
shapes and
yes.
stuff, yeah. But I do understand what you guys are saying. They put the standard Gundam blue, yellow, red, white
Yeah,
color scheme on both of them, but Noah's was like an off-white to show us that he's not the good guy Gundam this time, kind of.
yeah.
And I don't know, by muting that color scheme and then giving the weirdly shaped one the original color scheme, it did feel like we didn't see a proper Gundam in a way.
And the
Yeah.
Penelope also had this weird thing where it had like a visor with one eye, which kind of made it look like a what is the Imperial faction called again?
Right.
Zion.
Zion,
Zion.
Zion, mech, yeah, the one-eyed.
Which
the
has to be
Zion.
intentional, right? But
I
it was
don't
kind of
know,
strange to
because
see
it
that
wa-
on a Gundam.
It was offset. It didn't make it because for me, Azaku has the wide black eye with the rounded head.
and it's
Yeah.
not symmetrical as well. Yeah.
And this had more of the Gundam feel. It had the yellow crown. It had the face. So I did feel like it was watching two Gundams fight, which was cool.
Yeah, I mean the most memorable parts for me in the second fight scene were just the cockpit shots where they were like, it felt like it was supposed to confer like a feeling of being more tactical, where they're like sort of fighting like very evasively in and out of the cloud cover, and it's like the first one who makes like the wrong move, gets fragged all over the show, and so
But-
they're kind of like very hit and miss.
The one
and a
problem
lot of
was that they
internal
showed
competitions. Yeah.
they showed Aim Lane panicking and like
Yeah.
struggling, and then they showed mostly Noah. Sorry, Hathaway. I keep forgetting. I have to call him Hathaway because his father's also Noah. They
Yeah.
showed Hathaway like more calm, and like he was only there to get his captured pilot back, and then as soon as he got his pilot back, he kind of won. It kind of just ended after that, and I feel like that feels too much like the fight was decided before they began the fight in a way. And
yeah. I think they're trying to should have. Again, I think this is in like sort of preview to hopefully what will be a second film. They're trying to show him as some form of like tactical maverick. You know, the whole like he decided to like sort of sacrifice his beam cannon as a distraction to make the person think he was somewhere else, succeed. And then like hammer him with it. I think that's sort of where they were going with that, was like, oh, you know, like the only thing holding him back in that moment really was wanting to get his pilot. And the difference between him and Lane Aim,
the kid, yeah,
it was predominantly experience, right? They're trying to show Hathaway as like very experienced versus Lane as sort of slightly inexperienced. And I wonder if they're gonna do like a
Admiral Shah. That's what was going on with that.
Yeah. But I wonder in this series, if we get to this to later movies, if they're gonna do a flip where you actually follow Lane more than you do.
I certainly think
Hathaway.
Lane is meant to be developed as a protagonist of the future.
Yeah.
Because he's being presented as sort of like Amuro in a way as well, in that he has that emotionality and newbiness that he needs to get rid of
more
in
of
the
the
face
kid,
of his opponent. But Amuro came out on the side of Hathaway at the beginning of that fight, and at that point I knew that. I mean, technically it's a show called Hathaway, right? But as soon as Amuro had the speech to Hathaway, and Hathaway's internal conflict kind of evaporated, it was decided. The fight was already kind of over.
So, I mean, this is just something I don't remember at all from like Shaw's counterattack. Apparently, Quest was interested in Noah Hathaway, like
so
as a love interest.
They flirted at one point, but I don't think she ever like followed through on anything with him. Her primary interests were Char and Amuro. She was initially into Amuro, he rebuffed her. She kind of bounced back with Hathaway, but like it was suggested that there wasn't two-sided feelings there. He fell for her, and she kind of just needed someone. And then she fell in love with Char and died.
Right. I mean, personally, I think it's knowing Amuro that killed her more than anything.
Anyone that Amuro sees, right?
Yeah. So there were 3 flashbacks. The one was like the Amuro one you said. Then we had the Shah one, and Quest was also.
And we had a pretty significant Quest one, yeah. When Gigi decides to go out on the town with Kenneth, we got a pretty significant Quest getting out of her Gundam and running towards Char. Moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about just about everything, right? It's not a very long movie. I'd suggest people see it. I think in terms of rating, I'd give it, for the look of it, like an 8 out of 10. Really, really good. If there is more story, it might potentially be quite satisfying if we get like some threads tied together eventually. But alone, it's probably only like a 6 out of 10. Yeah, in terms of story.
That's so funny that you say that, because I was about to say, as someone who enjoys Gundam and loves Gundam, I give it an 8 out of 10. If the story carries on, if we get something like happening from this. But if you're not a Gundam fan, and if this doesn't get a continuation, or if you're just not familiar with the story and don't care about the story, this is a solid 6, I think.
What do you think, Dill?
I think you could appreciate, like, if there's any Gundam movie that you could appreciate if you're not a Gundam fan, it's probably this one. So long as you're happy with just good visuals. Like, I really do think, like, there's some people that I could take in, but, like, don't think about it too hard, and you don't have to worry about, like, knowing all the ins and outs and intricacies of these things. Just have a look at some of these scenes in the movie. And it would be good enough. It is really, really good. It also has the cool factor of Gundam, And like, this
absolutely.
is just highlighted. It's great when you watch this with friends because you get these things highlighted. I can't remember what Chris was starting to talk about, but we're at the scene where they're sort of showcasing the manhunters going through the city,
Oh
right?
gosh, yeah.
And we're like watching, and like Chris is like complaining about something.
So they're
halfway
like
through the complaint.
yeah. There's like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
taxi driver who's talking about something political, and the whole thing's like a weird like political commentary about the government. And I'm about to say something scathing about that, and then like there's just a Gundam with like a guy attached to his midriff with a like a 50 cal like automatic machine gun in like a little
like pencil mounted.
and like the only thing my brain could like think to say next was, "Oh my god, that's so fucking cool."
like,
For their civilian
That's great.
patrol, yeah.
Yeah.
it was very entertaining. I shall ride this Gundam into battle.
It's the worst way to use a Gundam ever, but goddamn, is it cool.
Yeah.
Is this the movie where they got that McDonald's ad with Shaw?
No, that happened 2020. So this is 1 year later. I think.
1 year later.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I'll put that ad just in somewhere here for context.
That ad was very cool
Yeah.
in a way. Watching them eat food. Oh, it's so weird, but I actually appreciate it.
Like Shaw going, "Oh, is that Amaro essence? No, it's a Big Mac."
No,
Help
dear
me.
God, no.
Oh gosh.
But like that battle sense thing was a cool callback as well. That shark kind of sense when Amuro was in the field.
Yes.
Oh, it's so pathetic, but at the same time I love it.
No.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for talking. This has been the
Thank
Japanese thing. Thanks everyone for listening. Ciao for now.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.